down. It was 6:25.
No. You have to go inside and you find something that makes you happy, whatever it is, and you will just let it out.
But improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper sycamore tree. Dream a little dreamer. Night breezes seem to whisper dream a little dream of me. Now, darling, but I feel still crave your kiss. Dream a little dream of
What's going on? What's going on, everybody out there? You have made it once again to the Community Beacon Fridays, 6:30 Eastern, with your host. I'm Joel Simmons, and this is
Real estate Mike Seville. What's going on, people? What's going on, brother?
All is Well. All is well. How are you doing? How was your week?
Man, it was excellent. Actually, it was excellent. Really started to dig in this week, and I'll actually be going over it on Monday on my Monday show at 9 o'clock. But started to get in some cold calls. Really starting to work out the schedule. But packed to pack, which is exactly how I like it. How about yours, brother?
I got a lot of the same stuff going on. Got an opportunity to speak to a lot of interesting individuals, and a few people, a bunch of leads, and a few people were going down the road helping a bunch of people. Yeah, there was definitely some interesting things. I appreciate all of the love and support that was showed on my behalf throughout this week, brother. I mean, man, I reached out to a couple of people and testimonies started rolling in.
Ah,
A lot of things that I didn't even know really had happened. Didn't even realize the impact. And man, it just came through, and it almost flooded my inbox. And very grateful. I'm grateful to all the people out there that have showed love, had
that,
opportunity.
that's something. I mean, I know that you live a life of servitude and just of giving, and I guess you do it so much, it's just a part of your nature. So I'm not surprised that you got that many people writing those reviews. I was trying to figure out exactly, and you saw, from the review that I gave you, with the review that I gave you, I was trying to figure out, like, okay, so which time should I talk about in this review? You know what I mean? So I gave you the one that I thought that was heartfelt to me. But there's plenty more to give. So
Appreciate it.
there's plenty more. There's plenty more to give. Now, what's going on, people? Please get in here if you're watching. Like, share. We're gonna get into some interesting topics today, and the brother's gonna go over it.
Yes. Appreciate that, Mike. Appreciate that. I got a lot to share about you as well. Yeah, it's definitely reciprocal. All right, y'all. Today's topic: discipline and time management. Right? That's what we're about to get into. Discipline is the action or inaction that is regulated to conform to the authority at large. What is that? Authority at large is whoever's in charge. It could be you, could be a boss, or children, could be their parents, whatever it is. But discipline is the action or the inaction that regulates, all right, in order to conform to that set of rules. And then time management is the effective use of time productively. So time management is just, setting your schedule or, your reminder list, whatever you have, it's doing that in order to be more productive, efficient. When you combine discipline with time management, you end up with effective use that produces results within the regulated time or with expected efficiency. I mean, in other words, when you set your mind to something, and you follow it, whether it's work, play, study, whatever, you begin to effectively accomplish whatever it is that you set up in these set of rules. You become the authority at large. And this is huge. People are making great waves in this world and accomplishing great things. Individuals who weren't able to accomplish things are accomplishing things once they learn these two things, discipline and time management. So we're going to dive on into this thing. We don't want any of the time police to come and start writing tickets for us. All right.
Mario, what's going on? Hey, listen, please like and share the broadcast. We're really going to get into it, and I want to start first with just and brother Cheryl. I mean, your thoughts on it. Is this something learned or is it innate? And by this, I meant discipline. Is discipline something that's learned or innate? What is it like to you?
Yeah, so I like the way you put that, the way you phrased it, because you're not asking for a definition, you're asking for an opinion.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, it's nature versus nurture. You know what I mean? There are some people that just have an automatic discipline that just kind of like sparks inside of them. I still think that there's somewhat of nurture that goes along with it. And I think that nurture is really going to be my strong answer. If I were to give it a percentile rating, or if I were to put it on the Lady Liberty's justice scales, then I would definitely have to say that nurture is going to weigh out nature. Yeah,
1,000%. I think most skills, which I'm learning this week as well, most skills take a lot of nurturing. You got some people who are just born to do things. The model that a lot of people use nowadays is like LeBron James. Like he was born to play basketball. But I think you got a lot of people in the NBA, college, etc. People who are performing at a high level. Most of them have to develop that skill set. Kobe Bryant, probably going down as one of the best basketball players ever played the game. I listened to something that he said. He's just recently, someone sent it to me in an Instagram in a DM, and he was saying something like he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He goes to go work out from 4 to 6. He goes home, has breakfast with the kids, etc. Then he goes back to the office from 9 to 11. Then he goes home. Then he goes back at it from 3 to 5, back at it from 7 to 9, and then it's going back. Mr. Charles Rawls, what's going on, brother? I pray all is well. Pray all is well. Pray all is well.
Yeah, good to see you, brother. Oh man, yeah.
So I think some people are born with certain natural talents. In this case, we're talking about discipline. But essentially, you got to nurture it. You got to nurture it. For me personally, people often say like they thought that I was in the military. They say, "Are you in the military?" Because I come out, I tend to be so disciplined. But you can easily fall off from it. You can easily go away from it. And because it's so easy to hit, in this case, hitting that snooze button, not showing up to certain things that you need showing up a certain kind of way too, because it's not just enough to be there. You got to show up with excellence as well. So it's not just enough for you to show up. You also got to show up with excellence, and that's what discipline is about. Because anybody can show up and be sloppy and be lazy and not put forth a great effort, but discipline I think also includes to show up with excellence.
Like it. Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, I mean, let's get on into this thing. Let's
All right,
get
let me
into
see.
it. Let's start off with this discipline because I think you're leading the pathway right there. When you start to talk about Kobe Bryant, I mean, remember, guys, all of the greats had to be like this. You know, you don't become great at whatever you do. I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I'm a movie buff. Well, I can't say a movie buff because there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be able to really outshine me in movies. But I love movies. I love movies. And one of my favorite movies, I actually ended up speaking with someone today about this movie. It's The Last Samurai.
Okay.
I enjoyed that movie and I enjoyed that style of movie. You know, I'm definitely the type of guy who likes to see the good guy win. So you all can understand it. But I also love to see the complexity of the main character and what they have to go through in order to win, you know? And in this movie, I think it was Tom Cruise, he had great discipline. Let me not stray away from that, but he lost his way along the way. And he was found by the Japanese samurai. When he was found by the samurai, he noticed something. And what he noticed, he began to document inside of his journal. And he was like, what I see is a people that every single day they dedicate themselves to the skill that they are meant to do. Whatever that skill is, you know, whether it was sword fighting, you know, and learning that art form, or it was planting rice, or it was reaping of some sort, whatever it was, they did that daily. If we want to achieve greatness, if we ever want to reach that high level, that effective level, that whatever we are doing, wherever we are, it is almost to the point where it is in its most perfect form. That is a perfection of our art, our passion. I believe that discipline takes priority, and we got to, must, have to learn and nurture that type of discipline in order to reach that height. I love to hear what y'all got to say about that out there. You know, throw another comment up there inside of the comments and let me know what y'all think. You know, how does that discipline affect you? And just right off the top, going back to nature versus nurture, how many of you out there believe that discipline is something that is passed on through the gene pool, and you've witnessed something where it was just like, wow, this person, it was almost like this child just came into the world and they just had it all together. They were just highly disciplined versus somebody who, you know, was nurtured by a parent or a loved one that they built that type of discipline into that child. And when they were well groomed and grew older, you know, they were able to accomplish these types of heights. Throw it in the comments, y'all. If y'all got an answer to that, nature versus nurture, and how that affects discipline. Are you more towards the nurture or more towards the nature?
And I guess where we're starting, I had to get back. That dog somehow snuck himself out of his crate, and I just hear noise. I'm like, what is that noise? Because he just doesn't want to be where he's supposed to be. Um, so yeah, I think the last thing I caught on to was in regards to the Tom Cruise. You were talking about the samurai, but I think we went back to the nature versus nurture. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, because I was just letting everybody know the reason behind that was because, you know, Tom, when he looked out and saw all of the people in this little stowaway village, he recognized that those that planted rice every day. They woke up early and they planted rice all the way until the end of the day. And those that did, calligraphy, they did that from start of the day to the end. Everybody, those that did swordplay, they did it from the start, from the breaking of dawn. And that's discipline. That self-discipline helped them to achieve the highest height of their art form. So for us, if we ever want to be known like a Kobe Bryant, I don't know what it is. Mike, you're a real estate agent. If you want to be the Kobe Bryant of real estate agents, if I want to be the Kobe Bryant of speakers, whatever it is, if we want to be that, you got to work harder than the next guy. I mean, not even comparing yourself with the next guy, but it's going to take that intense discipline that gets you up at 4 o'clock in the morning to devote yourself, because it's not just doing a job. You got to learn the job in and out. You got to know it better than the front or the back of your hand. You have to know it so well that even when somebody throws a caveat at you, you understand what is going on within this form, this art form, so well that doesn't even surprise you anymore.
1,000%. I remember hearing Michael Jordan said that he knew when he missed the shot because of the way that it rolled off of his finger. So before the shot even was going towards the goal, the way that it rolled off of his thumb or one of his fingers, he knew when it was happening. And I want to get to the point of waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, because this is something that I do on a daily basis. I think I'll take Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday I'll sleep until about 7:30. Try to get in to 7:30. But nowadays it's like when that sun comes up, I don't know what I'm doing in bed. But we all have 24 hours in a day. That's it. I have 24 hours. Elon Musk has 24 hours. Joe has 24 hours. Bezos has 24 hours. So what are we doing with those 24 hours, right? What are we doing with those 24 hours? But because we need to get the hours in. So just you using that same example of Kobe Bryant when he said, and I didn't finish what his statement. He said that he's doing the two. He's up at 4 o'clock. He's at the gym at 4 o'clock, 4 to 6. He gets home. He's home from 6 to 8. And then he's back at it at 9, 11. So essentially he was saying he's working out 8 to 10 hours a day daily. He says, so by the time summer comes around, there's not a summer workout. He says, and you're doing this for 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a time. He's saying, so if I come into the league with someone and they're not putting forth that much work ethic as me, there's just not enough time for them to say, okay, in the summertime, I'm going to work on this skill set. If he's working on this skill set year round, and I probably would even estimate that he's working on it in the summer as well. This is just something that's a part of his life. So it's like, you're putting in the hours. Was it 10,000 hours?
10,000 hours.
Yeah, 10,000 hours.
Given task.
Qualifies you as a genius. But something else that you brought up in regards to that last samurai with the rice pickers or the rice farmers and the swordsmen, is that it's a singular focus.
Yes.
So it's not 10,000 hours just doing a bunch of different things, which I find that's a problem for a lot of us. A lot of us aren't skilled at a particular thing, so we wouldn't be called. We're jacks of all trades as opposed to being that master of one. Because if you can focus and you can have that singular focus over a certain amount of time, that 10,000 hours plus, 10,000 hours is the minimum. Let me put that there. The 10,000 hours is the minimum of it. Then when you start to get into that plus, things just start to come a lot more easier for you. But you have to have the discipline and the focus and a lot of that. But the way that you do that is through this time management. Kobe spoke about that. That's his time management. We'll go into a lot of this later, but that time management is in regards to the four. He knows he's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and between 4 and 6, I can almost probably guarantee you his phone wasn't on. Or probably was just for emergencies only. If something was going on with his family, or some type of an emergency, But for the most part, he is solely focused on that task and that particular skill set to get better. So that's one of the things, is to have that main focus on whatever it is that you're doing. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be Kobe Bryant and does it like that, but if you want to be the best at whatever it is that you're trying to do, you need to be able to have that singular focus and put that time for it. So here's a question, brother. Is the what leads into is what people talk about and takes away from their discipline, is something that they'll call a work-life balance. A work-life balance. So what are your thoughts on work-life balance? Because I got a couple things to say about it.
Okay. I'm throwing some stuff your way, but you can leave it back where it is.
Yeah.
So creating a work-life balance, I think it's important. I think that's really important, balance is important, without balance, things happen. We begin to topple, So balance is very important. You got me thinking about something. So here's a scripture for you all. Let me see. I want to put this up here also. I think I need to put it on the side. But this is something that I want to share with everyone. It's from Proverbs 11, verse 1, and I'll put it inside here. All right, and then I'll speak to it. 11 and 1. Proverbs 11 and 1. Okay. And then let's post it. Boom. All right. So Proverbs 11 and 1. Just speaking about that balance, right? False balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So this is huge. My mother and I, maybe about 5-6 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years, actually, now that I think about the time layout, probably about 8 years ago, we discussed this. We discussed this, the object in balance for maybe about 2 years, because reaching balance is very difficult. You need to know what things weigh in order to have balance. You need to understand the weight of the situation. You need to understand the weight of your family, the weight of your work, the weight of your play, how that affects those that you love, the people that are around you. You need to understand all those things before you are able to really have a just balance. When we don't understand the weight of things, what ends up happening is that we tend to lean to whatever we think at the moment is important. Well, that makes sense to some degree, but sometimes the things that we do will affect the balance of our life. Have you ever been out there and somebody needed a certain amount of money from you? They wanted to borrow it. You looked in your pocket, maybe it was a friend, and you got a family at home. You looked in your pocket, you have plenty of money, So they asked to borrow it, so you lend them the money. Not a big deal. Everybody's done this before. When you get home and you speak to your spouse or somebody else, they say, hey, did you pull out the money for your son or your daughter? And you think to yourself, dog, I forgot all about that. Didn't even realize that not considering what you had in your pocket as being necessary for some other purpose caused a rift or friction later on that evening. You say, well, hey, I'll just go to the bank real quick. And then all of a sudden there may be an argument. Oh, but look, what you're always forgetting things. So discipline once again pops up because we made a mistake. So the balance of things, the gravity of things makes a huge difference in how successful we will be. If we want to be great at our job, but we also love playing basketball and we go out to the court every single day, but we don't practice whatever we need to learn inside of our workplace, we grow stagnant at the job. Although we may get better at basketball. Basketball doesn't pay us, essentially, if we're out there playing on street ball, but the job does. So there's got to be a certain amount of balance. And that's where discipline really starts to bring in our whole world. And we can actually put into this world if we apply the appropriate amount of discipline and we understand the weight of each and everything inside of our life. We can apply the appropriate pressures, the appropriate time allotment, etc., on whatever that is that we're dealing with. If not, just like the Lord says, an abomination. Well, hey, to you, you'll end up reaping the cost of having an unbalanced life. Come on with us, brother.
Yeah. I'm laughing because you brought up the analogy of the basketball, playing basketball, and here's the thing. Because let me talk about work-life balance, and I guess I began the conversation, or I spoke at one point about in the conversation in regards to the Jeff Bezos of the world. I named a couple of billionaires, right? But what I meant to say is that regardless of whether you don't have any money or you're a billionaire, we all have the same 24 hours. To your point, a lot of the difference in that is the discipline on what it is that they did. And I would also say the sacrifice to what they bring forth. I think, and so now when we get into this work balance life, it's how much focus are we putting on each thing? And how much sacrifice are we willing to have on these things? And then one thing that you wrote to me was in regards to this is to create a clear plan. So if you had a clear plan written down and made plain, like we speak about day in and day out on this show, then you would know that you had to do this thing for your son or your child. And you're not able to just give this money out freely because it's written down. You have a clear plan. You have something to look to, which we're going to get into, because we got to start talking about time management, talking about discipline. We have to talk about schedules and calendars. We'll get into the schedules and calendars, but in regards to this in particular, this work-life balance, I think work-life balance is relative. It's relative. It's relative to what exactly it is that you have going on and what you deem to be most important to you. If you are going to start another business, or you are attempting to be greater at a certain skill set, you will have to find the time for it, which may take away from you going to the basketball court and being the all-star player at the playground and having to take that time away, because you might need that time to be with your family. Right. So you might need that time to be with your family. So we can talk about, we want to get out and let loose, which I definitely think health plays a huge part in what you're doing. So then now you need to start to prioritize things. What's the top priority in what you have going on in life? If it is, okay, I want to retire my wife, I want to start by starting this new business, then you're going to have to put in that time on the front end of it. So that time is going to be on the front end. So you need to go to your wife or to your husband, however the situation works out, and you need to go to those people and say, listen, and come up with a plan, write it down so those people understand, and more importantly, so you understand what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. So now you're saying, okay, well, this is what I plan on doing. I'm working a 9 to 5. I was getting up at 6:30 in order to make it to work on time, or whatever time that is. So now I may have to sacrifice some sleep. I may have to start getting up at 4:00 to get my health in, because I'm not going to be able to have time after I get ready. I can get my health in. I go to work. I come home. I spend time with my family till about 8, 9 o'clock, and then maybe I'm working on my side business, etc. So I think in order for work-life balance, even it's subjective, because it's really contextual upon yourself. What are your goals? Write them down, and then really you need to understand: are these goals how important are they to you? Are they your goals? And I don't want to go down this route, but write down your goals, and I wouldn't even say goals. I'm going to call it commitment. Write down what you're committed to. Figure out what you're committed to, and then actually, and then you will find the time in order to make those commitments. So so that's my thought on work life balance. I think it's very tough for you to essentially be seeking freedom. It's tough. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but you are gonna, at the least, you're gonna sacrifice some sleep, and sleep is important. So if you're sacrificing your sleep, you need to make sure because of you sacrificing the sleep, the things that you are ultimately doing, that you are ever so present with what you're doing. The business, at work, you should be showing up and showing up with excellence. Once again, that's what I'm defining discipline as, is the ability to show up, do what you have to do, and do it with excellence. Okay, so that those are my thoughts on work life balance. It's kind of a myth because the 8-8-8 thing, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours to play, 8 hours to work, etc. You and I, brother, we know about that.
Right.
But you need to be heavily focused on what it is, and when you're working on attaining a skill set. Like for me right now, I'm oh my gosh, and I'm gonna talk about it on Monday. This cold calling skill set, being able to pick up the phone and speak with people that don't know who you are, and weren't really necessarily expecting your phone call, and understanding the ins and outs of the psychology of it. Man, it's like figuring out how to ride a bike again for the first time, but you got to put the time in. You're speaking to a lot of people who are very, very successful at it. They say no one was born doing this. Some people are talented at it, but in order to gain freedom, because if you're talented, you can't really teach talent. You can't teach talent. So if you want to essentially, not make a job for yourself, you need to understand the skill set. You need to master the skill set so you can teach other people the skill set. That's going to take time, and that time's going to come through discipline. Awesome, brother. Okay. Go ahead.
Love it. I love it. And I still hear create that clear plan. You know, listen, y'all. When it comes down to that work-life balance, you have to have that plan, and you have to discuss things. If you're a bachelor or a bachelorette and you're at your house and it's just you at your house or you at your apartment, it's a lot easier just to do whatever you want. You know what I mean? You do whatever you want. You wake up when you want. You go to sleep when you want. You eat when you want. But when you have a family and people are depending on you cook the meals. They're depending on you to cook the meal at a certain time. Sometimes people, they get wrapped up in this everyday type of thing. They're not going to step out there to fix themselves something. Or you do laundry or something like that, or you go out and you walk the dog, whatever it is. People start to depend on you doing whatever that is. So having that clear plan and then discussing it with other people, that's what I mean by the weight of it. So it's not always about, like I've got this passion to do what I'm doing now. This is a huge passion for me. But I didn't just just wake up one morning and just start doing all this stuff. No, I got a wife. I'm married for 23 years. I'm not an idiot. I plan on staying married for, listen, Mike will tell you, some of y'all might think I'm crazy, but I don't plan on dying until I'm 131. That's my plan. That's me and God are talking about this thing, and it's a serious conversation for me. But I plan on being married to the same woman, and for me, that means that I'm 42, y'all. That's another 90 years, 89 years. I'm not trying to mess it up in the infancy stage. So when I get up and I'm ready to do this brand new thing, I'm going to communicate with her. Hey, right. Babe, what you think about this? This is what I want to do. This is what I plan on doing. Mike was just talking about freedom. Let me go ahead and drop this thing. drop that freedom on that other side, Mike. The freedom is the power. It's the power to think for yourself, speak for yourself, act for yourself without hindrance or restraint. So what I've developed inside my household, I'm speaking right out there to you all, is what I do inside my household is I give everybody that freedom. I even work on that with my children. That's part of my discipline plan. Same thing with my wife. I absolutely encourage a certain type of act in a certain type of way. And there are certain things that they come with certain types of results. If my child does a certain thing and it's not the way of this house, the law of this house, then there is a response to that action. And those responses are known before they get there. So they have the freedom to act a certain way, to speak a certain way, or to think a certain way. And then I have the freedom to respond to that. And I put it all within that same realm. That's how we operate, because I desire freedom so much that I would be a hypocrite if I didn't allow for freedom to flow freely within inside my home. So I want that. So I'm speaking to my wife like, hey, this is what I'm going to get. This is what I'm planning on doing. I love to have her blessing. I would. Just like she would love to have my blessing in the things that she wants to do. So I don't hinder her in the things that she wants to do. And I expect no hindrance when it comes to me. But that's a whole nother subject, because we talked about this, didn't we, Mike, when we talked about relationships?
Right.
This is something that was cultivated, nurtured, this groundwork, So let's not go back there right now. But you see where I'm headed with that thing. If you want to be able to practice your discipline to become the best at whatever you want, and you're in a relationship, I think that you need to start opening that door up to communication and start telling people in advance which route you're going and how you expect for it to work out for you.
You know what? And this also, I mean, first off, discipline creates freedom.
Yeah.
Discipline and us as human beings, we crave, unbeknownst to you, I know that there's this huge swell in the world that's saying that you should just be free to have all the options and all the things that you want and just do whatever it is that you want. Listen, live your life, but I'm gonna tell you what happens. You start to get trapped within all of that. Yeah. Like you start to become a character of your own self based upon wanting things that you may not necessarily want. But I do want to go back in regards to this. You were saying if a person is a bachelor or not. Listen, if you're a bachelor, the more reason for you to write something down, to create a schedule, and to create something and be disciplined. If you're a bachelorette, the more reason for you to be disciplined and create some type of schedule, and not for other, but for yourself.
Yeah.
Like this is not, and we had this discussion in regards to going to a job. Me and Joe were speaking about it. I don't know if it was on the show or otherwise, but we were talking about when you show up to your job, you shouldn't just show up to your job for your supervisor or your boss or for the paycheck. You should show up to your job for you. Whatever it is that you do. Because there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong, especially if it's an honest day's work. There's nothing wrong with an honest day's work. So you should be showing up for yourself. You can't even don't even think about getting into entrepreneurship, becoming a business person, becoming anything more if you cannot show up for yourself. If you cannot create a clear and concise plan for yourself. Mike, what do you mean by clear and concise plan? This thing is not complicated, people. Logic is logic. Common sense is common sense. 1 + 1 is going to equal 2, right? It's the math. It's everything. We tend to complicate things to the point, and and the reason why we complicate things is because everything is just all up in the air, and it's all dependent upon feelings and emotions. Once you get disciplined, all of that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you feel. If you tell yourself you need to be up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter if you feel good or if you feel bad. Get up. And if you can't get up, and when I'm saying you can't get up, I mean like you might need to go get yourself checked out. This is not a bad thing. This is great. I'm gonna explain just on a personal level. I know that if I get into a habit of where and it's not like that one off where I'm just extremely tired and I got to just lay it down. My body won't do it. I'm saying once you get into a habit of, you know, 3, 4, 5 bad days, you got to check like what's going on. Am I depressed? Am I stressed? These can be things that are happening to you. What am I eating? What's going on with my health? Something, because something could be wrong with you. This is how you know. I mean, it's as easy as that, and it can get, and it's as simple as that. This is how you know that some of the things are wrong. If you're used to getting up if you're used to being disciplined and being up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you're not for 3, 4, 5 days, you might want to go to the doctor to go get checked up. You might be missing nutrients. You might be missing supplements. You might have some type of mental thing going on. You might need, you might have a stress. Something might be happening, but that's how you know. But if you live your life just based on this freedom of options without discipline, you'll never know. And by the time you do figure it out, it might be too late. It might be too late. So create your freedom through discipline. Get yourself regimented. Get yourself regimented.
I think that's good. Create your freedom through discipline. And and here's two things that'll help everybody. Number one, get rid of your temptations. Remove temptations. Like Mike was just talking about certain things, foods and different things like that. If you're not an early morning person and you want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to bed earlier. You have a hard time going to bed early, turn the TV off.
Right.
Turn it, I don't know about all phones, but I know iPhones got a focus. I use mine. I use my focus. So at a certain time, my phone automatically shuts down and it doesn't receive any more phone calls or text messages unless you're on the high priority list, the favorite list. If not, none of that stuff even gets through there. And I keep my list very short. A bunch of the people are inside the house with me anyway.
Yeah, but I think that removing temptations adds into that time blocking piece. Like the time blocking piece is like whatever I'm doing at this time, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. So, I'll give you an example of my schedule. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. From about 4 to about 7:30 is mic time. It's like from 4 a.m. to about 7:30. That's my time. I'm for the most part, I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not really answering emails. I'm probably not answering it. I'm not answering emails. I'm just doing what I need to do to get myself mentally and physically prepared for the rest of the day. So from that 4 to 7:30, that's mic time. From 7:30 to about 11, and I'm speaking of this new schedule I have. From 7:30 to about 11, it's straight in regards to calling, prospecting. Not necessarily, it's not just cold calling, but it's all prospecting together. So what do I do during prospecting? I'm doing what Joe just explained. I'm putting my phone on. I put it on bedtime because I haven't figured out the focus part yet, but I will get to it at some point in time. But it's like my phone is on silent. I turn on the what is the app? It's like a half moon.
Yeah.
The
night one or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's on now. It's on Do Not Disturb. It's on now, man.
Do Not Disturb. That's right. What it is.
6:30 to about 8:30. I'm actually earlier than that. From about 5:45 to about 8:30 on Fridays. That's community beacon time. And not to say that it's been like this forever for me, right? It hasn't always been this way. There were times when you and we've been on community beacon and I see something come through, etc. But then I say, you know what? It's the sole focus of if we want to continue getting better with our live presentation, then I need to be here. I need to be present in this moment. I can't talk to Joel and be on Facebook at the same time, scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, doing something else, or doing a text message thread or whatever the case may be. It's the sole focus of community beacon, and for you all, for so I can play, so that I'm present here and at this time. So that's the time blocking. We have to start blocking out your time. Where did this come from? We got to go. This is and I hope this doesn't sound repetitive, but I spoke on Monday about how businesses can be boring for people. Like, it's building a business is not excitement.
Oh man, I'm having a good time.
I know you're having a good time, but I'm gonna tell you what. Joe having that fire presentation for 45 minutes, that presentation, that his keynote is built up over years.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of years involved in that 45-minute keynote. I know you're enjoying it, brother. And I enjoy repetitive action. I get upset when I'm not on my schedule. When something happens, I'm like, golly, I gotta go do something, when something. We'll get into the Eisenhower matrix shortly. But if an emergency pops up and it takes me off of what I'm used to doing, I'm like, oh, I like repetitive stuff. Listen, my gym music playlist, if anybody knows me for any amount of time, I listen to the same songs over and over and over again. I might hit shuffle. I have 8 to 10 songs, and that's it. And I'll listen to them for months straight, 3 to 6 months. I don't have a problem with repetitive things. I don't have a problem. I enjoy, and I guess that's what it is. I enjoy the discipline. I enjoy those habits. But you have to get used to these things. That, like I said, that 45-minute presentation keynote. That's not an everyday thing. He's not doing that for 8-10 hours out of the day, keynote after keynote after keynote. It's like, however many times he does a keynote, it's how much time are you spending to prepare for that keynote? Right. What do you have? What's the studying that you're doing in preparation for that keynote? The books that you're reading, the articles that you're coming up with, the facts that you're presenting. You know what I mean? Like, all this comes up with it. A lot of people might find that boring. A lot of people just want to get on stage and be the star of the show. Hey, this is me. This is what I'm talking about. And some people may think it's like that. Listen, I tried it. You ever see? I don't want to say you never want to be on the opposite end of a crowd that's not feeling you, but it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling for you to not have understood your demographic. It's not a good feeling for you going into it just because you think you can just come off the cuff of doing something, and then you're staring in front of a bunch of people that don't understand what you're talking about. They can't relate to what you're saying, and you just sitting up there like, how much? How much more time do I have to go? You know what I mean? So the importance of just the repetitiveness of having that time block, your week scheduled out. More important when you have other people that rely on you. More importantly, like you said, like you spoke about before, having your wife and your kids and people who are relying on you, for you to do certain things, or for you to include them in your plans, just like they're including you in their plans. So that you can actually have that synergy to have a successful household. But definitely important to do it on your own. Listen, do it for yourself, man. Do it for yourself.
You got to start off there. You don't start off there, it's gonna be difficult later on. Yeah, like that's part of this whole thing, Mike. Is like, this is part of the journey, man. Some of us learn this way late in our years.
Right.
Learn it way late. But that doesn't mean nothing. You can start at any point in time.
Yeah.
You know what? Now is the best time to start. Now, if you hadn't already started, now is the best time. So just do it now. Make the rest of the time. I mean, because once you become highly disciplined, the sky is the limit. What you can do. I mean, half of the time where people kind of like squat around doing stuff that they look back. I mean, really, I talk to people. I'm like, so because I think we mentioned this a little while ago. People will say, well, find time. I think about that, and like you make time to do what you're doing. You schedule it, which means you're creating that time. You're dedicating that time. You know, as long as we are always looking for time, time will elude us.
So, woo.
As long as you look for time, it will elude you. Time is here for us. It's designed for human beings, you know. Time is designed. When you go into space, time doesn't have a continuum. It's not necessary.
You're just there.
You're just there, man. It's not necessary, you know? It's not necessary. But when you are on the earth, time has a purpose. There's gravitational forces that are compounding on your body. Time is not long. You're not able to last forever underneath the forces of pressure. So what do you do with the time that you have? You know, Mike been saying it all night long, 24 hours, 24 hours. I hear people, there's not enough time in a day. Well, why not? What are you trying to do? Something can wait until tomorrow. You know, if you get tomorrow, then great. How many times have you gone to bed and not accomplished what you needed to accomplish, woke up the next day and didn't even apply any time to accomplishing whatever it was that you need to accomplish yesterday?
Listen, brother, you. Listen. It's almost a mic drop. We could end the show on that note right there, because we're laughing, like the brother laughing about it, right? But when what you just said in regards to our body cannot keep up to what did you say? Our body can't keep resisting this pressure. At some point in time, this thing is all over with. And I'm gonna tell and I want to speak to that, because you spoke about going to bed, then not having done what you needed to do today. And then the next day, you're not even applying anything towards it. Once again, comes off from lack of clarity in your plan and your vision. It comes off from lack of clarity in your plan and your vision. Matter of fact, if you have no discipline and you're not effectively managing your time, that all comes from lack of clarity in your plan and in your vision. Write it down. That's the easiest. That's the most tangible thing that a person can tell you. Write it down. Put it somewhere where you have to see it. That's what it is. I was listening to Gary Vee, and then I said, you know what? This brother's right. I'm gonna tell you what. Gary Vee said, because they kept saying, like, how much time, do you sleep? Well, he said, listen, I sleep a good 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah, he did.
He said, I sleep 6 to 7 hours. He said, but it looks like I'm doing, what am I doing with my time awake? I want to see what people are doing for 8, 12. Why am I connected? Who's connected? People want to sleep from 8. What is this? I'm sorry, brother. People want to sleep from 8 to 12. They're awake for 8, 12 hours. What are you doing for those 8 and 12 hours out of the day? I can tell you right now, if you do what you're supposed to do, and you utilize your time management, your time blocking, and you're disciplined to those, meaning that you're sticking to what you're doing, and you're doing it with excellence, you will sleep like a baby. I sleep like a baby for 4 hours. For 4 to 6 hours. When I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm just like, whoo. I'm not tossing and turning. And not to say that it never was that way. There was times when I was tossing and turning because I was like, oh man, I didn't do it. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I should be doing that. I should be doing that. But a lot of that came from like time that wasn't well spent for whatever reason. So that day I did not spend those days well. There were certain things that I could have did that I put off, and instead of and I was doing things that probably watching TV when I should have been watching TV. I was just looking up at the ceiling or something like that. Whatever the case may be, I didn't put it on
wasting
time. I was wasting time. I was wasting time. The moment you stop wasting time, and the moment you start using it, because I can understand the thought process if there's not enough time in the day, because we're like a microwave society. We're
Yeah.
a microwave society that wants things now. So
Yeah.
we tend to overestimate what we can get done in a year and underestimate what you can do over 5 years if you're doing things consistently. Because that's what you should be. You should be looking at the longevity of it. But we want it today. I want to know this. If I could, I would, brother. If y'all don't understand, I've made cold calls before. I want to say 2019, 2020, end of 2019, 2020. I was on the phones. I was on the phones. I didn't really like the phones, and I didn't really want to master the phones. So I gave the phones to somebody else. I was like, here, you go ahead and do the phones. We did well, but there was always that nagging feeling like I know I can do better if I'm on the phone. I know I can. So now I have to get on the phone. And I mean, last week it was a bunch of, you don't understand. It's called call reluctance, like not wanting to get on the phone, not to have the conversation, et cetera, et cetera. But when I finally had to sit down and say, okay, boom, this is what I'm doing. And now I'm looking at time because if there was anything that I could fast forward is to be highly skilled on the phones, to have a high skill set of sales, especially sales on the phone, not hot leads, not warm leads, but cold leads. I mean, this brother Joe was walking down the street. He wasn't thinking about buying steaks, and I pull up on him and I say, "Hey, brother, I got these steaks." And now I got
I got these stinks.
now I gotta make the brother hungry in his mind. I gotta take him down the path in his mind why he need to buy these steaks from
You
me.
need to go to New York. I heard there's a lot of people with trench coats that are
Yeah.
able to get sell watches and stuff like that. Maybe you can hang out with them.
Yeah, they got a skill set. What you find out is about the numbers, right? At the end of the day, but the numbers get better once you start to develop your skill set. But if I could, I would snap my fingers and understand it tomorrow. But what I do know is that it's going to take time. The only way I could compress the time is by putting more time within the time that I have.
10,000 hours.
So instead of doing 1 hour a day, and it's going to take me 1,000 days, or excuse me, 10,000 days, I need to be doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour days. Which is tough. I'm telling you, it's tough. But it's essentially you got to learn how to you got to get your skill set up. You know what I mean? And it's about that time. It's about putting that time in. But we only have a finite amount of time. So more so about putting that time in, it's about the sole focus of that time. I cannot be on the phone for 3-4 hours a day and answering phone calls and taking this call from a friend and have the TV on watching the game or watching something else and scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through Instagram. I need to have soulness of mind and soulness of function.
Yeah, man. Let me go back to something that you said. Because you're like, you started to describe that schedule. I'm gonna tell y'all out there, listen, brother, man, I'm not to that 4 o'clock yet. I'm at 5, and I went to go move my time to 3:40. I was able to do that for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
but I'm 100% with it. So if we're going to be able to do all these different things that we are looking to do, oh my gosh, you have to create this discipline. And discipline doesn't feel all that great. So y'all remember back a little while ago in this, I said there's 2 different things that you need to do in order to increase that discipline. One of them was to remove temptations. The second one is to practice tolerance. You got to start practicing tolerance. In other words, when it happens, you're like, oh man, I was supposed to get up for me it's 5, for Mike it was 4, and he's been moving through these hours because he's way advanced when it comes down to it than I am. But You know, every time I get up at 5, and then there's this one day where I don't. Yeah, okay, it's no time to beat yourself up. Get up. It's 6:30. It's 6. Get up. Do what you got to do. And when you go back to sleep, you plan on getting up at 5 again. You don't have any time to just be, having pity parties.
Facts.
You gotta get like they would say about bicycles. You get on the bicycle, you fall off. What do? You get back on the bicycle and you ride it again.
That's the
Go 5 more feet, fall off again. What do? Get back on it. Now go 10. Get back on it. Now go 20. Get back on it. Now before you know it, man, you're riding all across the city. That's how you create discipline. Get rid of the temptations. Some of the temptations may be people. Bye.
We got to get into the people portion. we got to get into the people portion. You know, I'm ready to get into the people portion.
Hold on, Mike. Just let me throw this out there before you go into that, because you mentioned something. You were talking about, as far as the discipline goes, you can't be, on the cell phone or, doing whatever. Yo, listen, I know that there's a lot of studies out there about multitasking.
Oh, yeah.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Discipline comes from sheer focus. If you want to be the best at whatever it is, Mike wants to be the best at cold calling. That man is going into focus drive. He ain't even answering my phone calls.
Believe you me, brother, I wanted to.
I said, wow, I'm a block. All right.
But look, I did respond to your text message though, didn't I? I see.
Yeah.
I responded to the text message. So I wasn't really blocking it off like I should have. But immediately after I said, wait a minute, how did this get through? Because it popped up on my phone. So I said, I'm gonna respond to the brother, and now I'm gonna put it in. I forgot. I said, nah, because normally when they got to me, soulness of focus. And here's the and we're gonna. I want to get into the people part at some point, because this would be a good segue for it, is that everybody is not going to make, and it is what it is. I would love for all of my day one, people who are around me to understand the concepts that we are talking about, and you will too. I think I almost think that people, and I'm telling you, it could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your mother, your father, your sister, brother, best friend since you all were in pajamas together, etc. You want more than anything for everybody to come along with you, right? It would be nice. It would be nice if we could be side by side. If I can wake up at 4:00 and send them a text message and they just get it, you know what I mean? Or send them a YouTube video and they just get it. Like I sent the brother a YouTube video. What was it? I think it was Saturday or Sunday. It was either Saturday or Sunday. I sent the brother. Say it again.
What was it on?
It was either the Gary V or the ET. It was both. It was Gary V and ET.
Man, I watched both of them.
Right. It was a Gary V and the ET video, and the other video was the who was on the other video? Patrick Bet David, I think it might have been.
I just remember the two. There was one with Gary V, and then there was Gary V and ET.
Right. It was Gary V talking to the young man, and the Gary V talking to the other person. I sent it to Joe, and I sent it to a couple other people. A couple other people just left it on red. They was like, "Oh, hey, Mike is sending this." I could almost think in their mind, Mike is sending me stuff again. I wouldn't be. For me personally, I gotta at least give people the information. I love giving people the information. What you do with the information is your problem. I'm no longer giving advice.
I like it. If it shifts, if it fits, it shifts.
Yeah, I'm out of the advice business. I'm in the giving the information business.
That's it.
So I'm giving you the information. What you take, the brother got a saying for it. If it ships, if it fits, it ships. I'm going to give you the information. It might have been one or two people Joe being one of the two people, 50% of those people, and I probably sent it to 5, 6, 7 people who I care for, who God said, hey, what it came up, not God said, but it came upon my heart that I need to send this information out. Me and the brother Joe had a decent conversation about it. I mean, we're talking about for 20, 30 minutes because our minds are on that thought process of growth and what are we getting out of this stuff. A lot of this stuff that we get out of those videos are things that we can't necessarily, I don't want to go too far into it, are things that are blocking, that we can't see. These are things that are in our blind spots. So now when we're looking at other people having an experience, we can experience that through them. Like, oh, whoa, I wonder if I do this. And then if I do this, and if I'm doing this, okay, so now it's time to correct it. The only other way you can get that is through a coach or through therapy, right? And now through me showing these things, but you have to have you have to be self-aware enough to and be willing to make that change in order to go through that, right? So it's like, so I sent it to him, and these are the people I'm talking about. So those same people are the same people that are going to be telling you, brother, why I don't understand why you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I look at them, I don't understand why you don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Because you're telling me you want this. You want to be a millionaire. Like it just happens. You want to have, you want these things. And I'm talking about earthly things. You want, how about you just want freedom? You want options. You want this. Well, how else are you going to find time to do it? And maybe you're better than me. Maybe you can do all these things and get up at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock or whatever time it is that you're getting up, go to work or do whatever it is and get it done. Maybe you are that gifted. And I'm not going to tell you, through God, all things are possible. What I'm telling you is that success leaves clues. And when I look at all these other successful people, these are some of the things they're doing. Warren Buffett is still getting up at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. And we can essentially say he's made it. And in regards to worldly needs. So there's a reason for it. And I think there's also some spiritual things that happen at 3,
absolutely
4, 5 o'clock in the morning as well, because you're on a different, you're operating in a different consciousness. Go ahead.
Let me put this out there for the spiritual part, because I'll never forget this. Apostle Lafayette Jenkins, my father was he was my pastor for years. I mean, schooled me,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love it, brother.
Oh, I mean, he is a well of wisdom. A well of wisdom. For those of y'all who need a counselor, look him up. Lafayette Jenkins. He is a counselor. All right. Certified, licensed, therapist. He's got you. Lafayette Jenkins, a well of wisdom. Anyway, one of the things he would say, because where I attend service at, we're open, the house of prayer, we're open 7 days a week. And people would say, why do you go every day? He had a standard answer that he preached for 2 decades. I mean, and this talk about discipline. This man preached like Noah sometimes. I don't know if y'all understand that the use of that metaphor, but nonetheless, he would say the liquor store is open every night. Yeah, you go get drunk every single night. So why can't you go and serve God every night? And it's just, I just wanted to bring that into this atmosphere, because forget excuses. Like one of my mentors, Daddy Grace, he would say, all excuses are lies. Y'all want to know how come I developed the type of character I have? Listen to these mentors and what they've been teaching me for the last 2 decades and then some. All excuses are lies. What you talking about? All excuses are lies. You mean every time I make up excuses a lie? Yes, because you do got the power to do it. You just ain't doing it because you don't want to do it. It's you. You the problem.
We in the office, we have a sign that says that You can either have excuses or you can have results.
Yeah.
But you can't have both. You can have
Yeah.
excuses or results, or you can't have both.
Yeah.
So let me get back into this temptations because I want to help you people. I want to help us all. And then I'm talking to you and I'm talking to myself at the same time. Listen to me. Those same people who can't see the new you, they can't see it. They can't see the new you. They can't see the 5 a.m. you. Let's call the 5 a.m. you or the 4 a.m. you, the 3:30 a.m. you, the new you, or what you are being and becoming. You got to be, and then you end up getting what your results. But what you are being, because you're being that person that's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they start off with, and it's not. I don't think it's a negative thing. Some people are malicious. So please be careful of them. But some people, for the most part, they're not used to that. It's something different, and they also don't want, subconsciously, they don't want to see you leave them. People don't want to be left. People want you to be right here with us in this section, so we can keep talking about the same thing that we've been talking about. And I'm going to tell you, it's 95% of people are not for you. Let me not say that. I was going to say you need to walk away from them. They're not for you. They're not your tribe. 95% of people are not your tribe. That might be my book, 95-5 rule, because that might be what it is, because 95% they're not like you. If you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, they are not like you. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying there's something wrong with them. I'm not saying that that you need to get rid of them and not have any kind of love for them in your heart. You should love people. However, when you're going after your commitment, and I'm no longer using goals, I'm using commitments. When you are committed into becoming your best self, when you are committed to becoming free, the people are going to have to be the sacrifice, because those people are going to be your temptations. I'm going to tell you how even deeper it gets. They will tell you that they're going to do it with you. Oh yeah, I'll be your accountability partner. I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. And I'm the type of person where I don't know if it's a loyalty thing or what, but like I feel that, man. I had an empathy moment today, but I was like, well, I don't know how y'all do it. I started feeling so much empathy for people that today I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe they might be going through this. But long story short, it makes me feel a way, because I really, when we start doing things and we start becoming accustomed to doing things, like I'm really now I'm a part of it. So now all of a sudden, in this particular instance, if we're saying we're going to the gym at 5 o'clock every morning, I'm showing up at 5 o'clock every morning. And then we're there for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, 7 days. It doesn't stop at 7. You got to go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm talking about in a row. It takes 30 days. It's a little bit less than 30 days, but I'm going to say, to continue with the argument. Yeah, it's 3 weeks, but I'm going to give you 30 days, because I don't want you to shoot for 21 days. Right. Yeah. So so we're going to say 30 days. I want you to do this thing for 30 days to perform this habit. Going to the gym is actually 6 months. 6 months makes you crave going to the gym. Once you go to the gym for 6 months, when you can't go, your whole day doesn't feel right. Right? Your whole day doesn't feel right. But 30 days to get you into the habit of, okay, at least getting your body towards going, kind of deal. So you might feel dejected when these people don't show up. These people that were supposed to be going to the gym with you, that said that they were going to go to the gym for you. Now, I'm tired. I got to go sleep in, or I just couldn't make it this time, or whatever the lie. We ain't gonna call them excuses no more. Whatever the lie it is that they're telling themselves, right? So that's a part of this temptation thing. because now this temptation is having you feel like, well, maybe it's something wrong with me. I don't know, brother, if you ever felt this way, but when you were doing what you were supposed to be doing, and then the person who may have been doing it with you or people around you have you feeling like there's something wrong with you. You know how many times I hear, and now I don't even care about it. How many times I hear, oh, Mike is crazy. Listen to the words. Words mean things, especially when they're spoken out. This is gaslighting on a lower form of it. But this could be gas. Matter of fact, no. This is the difference between life and death, right? These people are telling you that you're crazy for wanting to get up earlier. These people are telling you you're crazy for being solely focused on this thing. These people are telling you that you're crazy, that you're sacrificing this escapism, whether it might be drinking, it might be some other form of some other habits that you may have, but you've decided to give that up because you want to spend more time on something that's going to allow you to become your better self. Because a lot of those other things are things that are coming from without. You need to come from within. That's where the change is going to come from. So you got to figure out how you do it from within. But these are the temptations that happen around, and these little words that are spoken in your mouth by 95% of the people will have you thinking that something is wrong. So I would add on to this that we remove the temptations, but you also need to add some positive things in your life to replace those temptations. You need to have someone like Joe that if I send this video out, let's just say to 10 people, I need 2 people to call me and say, Mike, I'm understanding this. I need one person, especially at the beginning. You need that one person to come and tell you, hey, Mike, this makes sense. You understand what I mean? Like this makes sense. So you got to remove those people. Don't throw them away. You need to limit your time and create boundaries. Limit your time and create boundaries. So yeah, I hope you all got that. I don't want you telling your mother that you don't want to see her anymore. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you to go out and divorce your wife, but you needed to communicate with her.
That's it.
Your husband. You need to have a communication and pray God that she is behind you and supportive of you, or he is behind you or supportive of you, or your brother is behind you or supportive of you, or your mom is behind you or supportive of you. But it's different for them. So we need to have empathy for them as well, because you are becoming something that they aren't used to seeing.
That's why that communication is so big. That communication is huge, because in that moment you're changing, you're becoming something different, and if you communicate this, you project that difference to other people. They may not understand it in the beginning. They may not even understand it in the middle. Like Mike was saying, oh man, this is so crazy, but when it begins to manifest, what they will be saying about you is, he said he was going to do it.
Ooh. Real quick. I had a conversation with someone on a cold call today. Excellent conversation. This lady, older lady, I think she said she was in her late 60s. Her husband was in his 70s, and she was telling me that they had been dealing in real estate for the last 35 years. 35 years. I mean, but one of the things she said, to your point, and she was talking about her husband, she said my husband is different. And first of all, I love when women start to, when they start to give their husband props. Because
Lord, yeah.
Like, you don't hear it a lot. I don't hear it a lot. But so when I heard it, I'm smiling on the phone. This is what makes you want to cold call more, because you get these great calls like this. But she started lauding or giving so much praise to her husband because of what you just said. Because she said he's different, because my husband, when he says he's going to do something, he does it. And here we are, I don't know how long they have been married. She didn't say that, but they apparently had been together for at least 35 years. For at least those 35 years, this man had been saying what he was going to do, and he's done it. And here his wife is, that haven't been together for at least 35 years. I'm sure it was more than that. But here his wife was, and you could hear her glowing over the phone, talking about what her husband does and how he brings things to fruition.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So maybe at the beginning she might have, or maybe he was the type of person that just in that gave her that feeling that he was going to do what she was going to do. I'm sure that he did had to for her to marry him. I'm hoping that probably was the case. But for him to actually have done it, and for her to be giving him that praise, you could die a happy man at that point in time for someone that's that close to you. There's one thing for someone out of the house to say, "Oh, Mike is a great man." You don't know Mike is a great man because Mike could be coming home acting crazy, just drunk in it. But when he goes, he can put on that front for a couple hours out of the day.
Ooh.
But for someone from inside your home, because that's what that's where it really matters. It really matters what you're telling yourself. Number one, but number two is when you do have someone on the outside that is giving you that kind of praise, that has to let you know that you're going in the right direction. And this lady was just giving her husband all the praise in the world. I'm like, listen, I might have to come by and give you all some anniversary gifts because that there is a beautiful thing. I'm sorry, but I broke off. But to your point, in regards to these people who they don't necessarily they might not understand it at first. So you kind of got to be the testimony to them, and the testimony is through the way that you continue living your life. Is that what you were saying? You got to
go back to that. Where were we? Because you took me on. You took me right there. I enjoyed that right there.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it this morning too, man. That lady was on the phone. I just had to start smiling. I'm like, this lady is just giving. And so I told her, I said, listen, I don't know much, but I got to meet both of you all. You know, what I mean? We don't necessarily have to do business, but there's something there. It's a reason why you picked up this phone. It's a reason why I'm on the other end, and I'm just feeling it. So I said, I gotta meet your husband. That's what I told her. I said, I gotta meet your husband. I gotta meet both of you guys, but I definitely want to meet your husband because to have a man that is being given this much, getting this much praise from someone in his house. Like I said, it's one thing. You hear a bunch of stuff from people outside. People could put on that front to the world. But if your wife and your kids can come around and say, listen, my father was a good man.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate testimony for me. If your children saying you're a good man and your wife is saying you're a good man, that means that you're doing something. You know what I mean? Because those are the people that you're working those extra long, hard hours for. Awesome.
And a couple of things. One, they remind me of a conversation we had a few weeks ago dealing with relationships about putting in that groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up. I mean, obviously they seem like they fit together, and they complement one another, and that comes from putting in that groundwork. Y'all go back and watch that groundwork episode. You'll see what we're talking about. But another thing is that his discipline proved to be dependability.
Yep.
You can depend on people because of discipline. The more discipline somebody has, the more you can take their words to the bank. When somebody has no discipline and they tell you they're going to do something, you start to wonder.
Listen,
hey, listen, I don't put anything too heavy in their hands. If I don't believe that they're going to come through, I don't put anything heavy in their hands because I'm concerned. If I put something heavy in their hands and it does not happen, it doesn't come to fruition, then how does that affect me? Talking about people, going back to what you're saying about people, how does that affect me? I might not, you might not need to leave my life, maybe you don't need to leave out of my life, but you don't need to be included in certain decisions that require me to be extremely disciplined in order to reach the goal or the commitment that I've committed myself to. I don't want you there. Not that I don't want you there, but I don't want you there. Because if you're gonna drag me backwards, then you just created more weight and stress on me to be able to reach this goal. And then going back to the balance, work-home balance, or just balance in general, understanding the gravity, understanding this gravity of what's going on is huge. You know, you got kids at home and you're putting in all of this work to reach this goal. You better reach that goal. You better reach that goal.
That's that goal word. I'm telling you, we got to
Oh,
start.
commitment. I'm
We
sorry.
got to
You're
start.
right.
Listen, Mike Johnson over. I call him Southside Mike. We had the office together because I'm Northside Mike. I'm North Palm Beach County. He's South Palm Beach County. He's in Boca, and that was one of the things he said. Stop saying these goals. Goals tend to be these lofty ideas that you have, and if you don't miss your goal, you're like, hey, I missed it. You know what I mean? I got it that time. He said, when you start talking about being committed to something, if you're committed to something, you're not going to miss it because it's something that you are going to, you're going to make it happen. Because if you don't make it happen, you're not committed to it. So he said, so he gave an example. He's better at it than me. Mike can do these impressions that are funny as well. But he said, imagine you getting married and you tell you stand on the other side and you tell your wife or your husband, whatever, you say, listen, I'm committed. My goal is to be faithful to you. My goal is to be loyal to you. But hey, it's a great goal for me to have. But if you sit in front of someone, you say, I'm committed to being loyal to you. I'm committed to being faithful to you. I'm committed, whatever it is that you're committed to, the commitment of it is like these things are going, like I'm committed to making this happen. It's a difference between trying and doing. Don't try to drink some water. You can't. You're either going to drink the water or you're not going to drink the water. There's no trying. So you want to have that commitment. I'm loving this conversation. And I know I start to get turned up about those 95.5. You spoke about putting something in someone's hand. That to me is the ultimate way of how you differentiate the 95 from the 5. Give somebody something to do. And it's best that you give them something to do at the beginning. Like Joe said, don't wait till it, don't attempt to make it be too heavy for somebody to do. I'm not telling you to give somebody something impossible to do. But if someone says they can do something, let them do it. Mike, you said you can find me a house. Go on and find me a house. Guess what? If I can't find your house, I'm not coming around you no more. Because I can't do what I said I'm going to do. Or Mike, you said you could sell my house. Sell my house. After I give you the information about what's going on, if you in the knowledge, I'm going to be able to sell your house based upon how I'm explaining it to you, right? I'm not saying that you tell me to sell your house. Your house is worth $200,000 and you want $1 million for it. Although I might be able to sell it for $1 million if you're willing to, if you're willing to do some owner financing. But if a person tells you that they can do something, and you want to start a relationship with this person, have them do something for you, right? And then that immediately separates that 95.5. If you never see that person again, they say, hey, I thought you said you were going to do this. Now you know. And I'm not saying that people can't change. They might have some more work that they need to do. But at this moment, you're not a part of the 5%. The 5% are doers. What'd you say I was going to do? Oh, I'm out here doing it. And it's not a doing for a day. It's not a doing for a week. It's a month, 2-3 months later when the rubber really hits the road. These people are still out here doing it. You know how many people say they were going to lose weight on January 1st? And then we're going to go look at them right the day in September and see what happened. 95.5 people, 95.5. Awesome. I had a couple more things I wanted to get into, brother, because I know we can go on forever. Let's talk about the scheduling and the calendar. I want to start off by saying there was a time when I could remember everything. At that point in time, I hadn't accumulated so much in my mind. I was a teenager. Matter of fact, I noticed that I needed to write things down when I got to high school. When I got to high school, they started spitting out pop, 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 and I'm just sitting there without a pencil or a pen or paper. I'm just like, yeah, I got it. 2 days later, because we were doing block schedule, and I come back and they was like, so did you have this thing done? I'm just like, oh, I didn't even remember. It didn't even cross my mind. So what happens is that at that point in time, I figured out like I need to start writing things down. And even then, I guess it didn't really, it kind of came, it went and it came back again, kind of thing. And now at this point in time, where I'm in my life at this point in time, especially because I'm dealing with one of the biggest purchases or transactions that most people will make in their lifetime. You better write it. You better have these things scheduled and written down, because making a move is a huge life decision. Is a huge life decision to move. Just I don't care if you're moving next door. It's huge. It's dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's dealing with emotional attachment to certain things. It's dealing with logistics. It's dealing with contracts. It's dealing with um, different vendors, etc. And all this stuff has to come together. You better write it down. You better put it on your calendar. You better have it in your schedule. You better time to go. You better time block for yourself where you have time to go over all these administrative things, these follow-ups, these updating people what they need to know in regards to what's happening. A lot of people, and Joe, you were there. We were in a communication while we were buying your property. And it's like a lot of the things like you may not necessarily know because you're kind of like in limbo. You're just like, okay, so what's going on with the house? Because I'm left up to communicate with the other agent, which God bless her. God bless her soul. Me communicating with the other agent, and Joe's not communicating with the other agent, but he has this, he's spending a lot of money, and we were on a time crunch, I believe, at the time. We had a time crunch. So we're just like, I'm sure his wife Kathy is like, Joe, well, what's going on? Joel is thinking about his kids, etc. Huge commitment, a lot of things going on, right? And that he left in my hands. Thank you so much for trusting me with that decision. But I need to put it on the calendar to say, listen, I need to call Joe tomorrow, because if Joe doesn't hear from me tomorrow at 3, the stress that he may be incurring up until 3 o'clock is like, like what's going on? You understand what I mean? So it's incumbent upon me in my profession, and not just in my profession. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care what you're doing, because there's things that are important going on in your life. Write it down. Start to make a schedule for yourself. And the more disciplined you are, the easier you make it on yourself with this schedule. But if you're calling people at different times of the day, or if you're doing this at different times and this just based upon how you feel, I'm gonna tell you one, it's not going to get done. Even if you have it in your calendar, it's not going to get done, because you don't even have the discipline to look at your calendar daily. You don't have the discipline to put next thing you know, the alarm is going off. It's 30 minutes for an important meeting or time, and you're like, you're not even prepared for it. So now you're going to that meeting or doing whatever it is that you're doing, and it's completely just, you're pulling stuff out of the air. You're not being your excellent self. You got to have the discipline. You got to have your calendar. Brother, what say you about the calendar and the schedule?
I think it's beautiful. Going back to creating a clear plan, that's part of it.
Yeah.
It helps you to gain focus. We needed focus. And it's not, all of these things are not necessarily the most easy things to do. Going back to when Mike was talking about waking up at 4, and then I'm working every single day. I want 5 o'clock is my time. That's it. The alarm is set. If I go to bed late, it is what it is. Sometimes I wake up, got the headache going on and whatever, because I know I didn't do something right. Something was wrong, but I got to get up. And it feels good once I get up, and I put my me time on and things like that. Like Mike was talking about himself. We have to remove, the temptations, and we have to practice tolerance. But at this point in time, when we're dealing with time, for me, the schedule has been everything.
Yeah.
And I share my schedule with my wife. That's how I do this. And I have been communicating with her for a couple of years now. And it has become a part of my life now that if I don't put it in, I'm talking about, I even put down pick up the kids in my schedule, because if I don't, especially now, if I hadn't been in practice, especially now, I have VAs that will fill up my schedule. And I'll just pick up my phone. And when I pick up my phone, oh, I got a new one. I got another one. And my time's gone. So I have to be diligent if I desire to have a specific time for study session in the middle of the day. I go into my phone and I put out of what is it? Out of something, out to lunch or something like that. I don't remember what it's called. It's called out of something. Out of the office. I put out of office, and it's just a blocker. It blocks time for me. If I'm going somewhere where I have to drive there, out of the office. So I give myself a half hour so that when I get there, because I got to do this. If not, my schedule starts popping, and next thing you know, I'm missing somebody. Something along the way.
Joan is out there looking for you like,
yeah,
Dad forgot me.
Yeah. So I would just encourage also this: make a dynamic task list of your commitments for the day. Prioritize them and make a dynamic list. I would also encourage that you think about what it is that you're putting down on it and allot a certain amount of time to those things. So when it's dynamic, just making a task list is like, I can sit down early in the morning and I can write down everything that I desire to get done. But a lot of times I'll end up writing down things that I just desire to get done. And it'll bleed over into things that may take me hours and hours to do. But write down a dynamic list and keep it small. Keep it obtainable. So if you write down 3 pertinent things that need to be done in that day, aside from scheduled things, appointments or work, whatever that is, but 3 specific things that you desire to get done, and put them in the order of necessity. And then think about that, in your 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock moment, 6 o'clock moment, 7 o'clock moment, before anybody's talking with you, before you look at your phone. Think about, how long would it take me to do this? Is my first task going to take me 3 hours? Do I actually have 3 hours? When can I accomplish this? Is this something that needs to be accomplished between the hours of 8 and 5? Do I have the time between 8 and 5 to dedicate 3 hours to do it? Or is this something that I need to do when I take off from work or on a Saturday? If it's someone I need to reach out to, are they available after the hour of 5? Or do I need to speak to them on the weekend? Are they available then? That's what dynamic means, is actually consider what you're writing down, prioritizing it, and then asking yourself a question. Is this something that is obtainable within the time frame that I have allotted? And then start making those moves, because you may need to put that in a different category or on a different time frame, on a different day, different priority list.
1000%. That's the perfect segue into this. This is called the Eisenhower Matrix. When I was working at the city, and we had a time, which was interesting. I took every teachable, everything that they gave out at the city. I was always there. My supervisor, Mike is going to another training. Yes, Mike is going to another training. You are. I done learned everything I needed to learn from you. So let me figure out what else is going on with the city. So the city would bring in these different trainers. I met some excellent people. Barbara Cheese is one of them. Shouts out to her. She does the diversity and inclusion trainings, etc., throughout the city and the other different counties. But one of the things during the time management, this happened. The person who actually taught this class, now that I'm remembering, was Christine Thrower at the time. She was the head of the Parks and Recreation. She was the director of Parks and Recreation, which was my department. Which I thought it was interesting that she was teaching this class because I always thought that she ran around with like a chicken with a head cut off. But shouts out to you, Christine Thrower, yeah, running around all the time. But she brought up this quadrant, and I mean, I had to start implementing this immediately, immediately, because I think oftentimes like we tend to be busy for the sake of being busy. But you're not being effective or productive. And that's the name of the game. You want to be effective, and you want to be, most importantly, you want to be productive with whatever activities it is that you're doing. But most of us don't know, and Joe kind of spoke on it in regards to that. That was a new concept to me, the dynamic task that he was speaking about that you should put together, that you can drop into parts of your day if you have time for it. That's an interesting concept that I'm learning tonight. But then it goes into this matrix because a lot of people, we don't know. We need to figure out why we're doing the activities that we're doing. And then when we're doing these activities that we're doing, what's the return on it? What's the return of our time invested? ROI is not just for money. ROI is for everything. ROI is for your time as well. If I put this amount of time to this activity, what am I getting out of it? And then how does this activity play a part in my life? Okay, and your business. So this is called, like I said, this is called the Eisenhower matrix, and it's simple. It has on the top the urgent, the not urgent. On the sidebars, it has the not important and it has the important, and then it tells you what to do once you place your certain tasks or activities into it. So now, when she was explaining this to me, the first part was, we were talking about the urgent and important, urgent and important. These are fires that come up. These are like, something that, God forbid, but things happen. Someone slips and falls or something. That's urgent and important. You need to take care of that. You should not spend your time, though. The majority of your tasks should not be urgent and they should not be important. But what happens is that when you go to the quadrant 2, which is not urgent but important, what happens is that you put those things off for so long because for lack of planning. But see, it tells you need to plan. But if you continue lacking of planning out your day, everything becomes quadrant 1. Because if you and here's a great part of waking up early. The best part of waking up is it's not Folgers in your cup. The best part of waking up early is that you hit the ground running. So if I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and let's say I take it at 7 or 7:30, 7 o'clock. Let's say 7 o'clock. Let's say 7:30. At 8 o'clock, I'm not just, let me go get this drink of coffee. Oh, what did I eat breakfast? Am I still hungry? Oh, I'm moving kind of slow. You did that from at 4 o'clock in the morning. From 4 to 4:30, that's when you were dragging. Now, when you're up and when you're ready to go at 8 o'clock, people, I promise you, your day, unless there's meetings that go on after this, your day is over by like 11 or 12 o'clock. You could essentially, and I know this. I love you guys at the city. This happened to me at the city. When I got to the city, by the time I got there, I wasn't dragging. I wasn't putting stuff away and just kind of just moseying about, trying to wake myself up at 8, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever time it was that I got there. When I got there, I was like, boom, I'm ready to go. I'm already typing your email. Your email's gonna hit you at 8. If I need to type out emails, they're already getting placed out. I'm already writing up whatever I need to write up. I'm already, my schedule's ready for the rest of the day. Like, I'm ready to go. But if you're coming dragging, a lot of the stuff, all of a sudden now, I just don't have enough time. They're giving me so much work, by the time, gotta have it. No. You kind of want to stay in quadrant. You kind of want to stay in quadrant 2. You want to stay in quadrant 2. That's kind of where you want all your activities to take place. The urgent and important, obviously you have to do it, but that's like the fires that you have to put out. The quadrant 2 is when you're things that you have already planned for. I plan to do this and I'm doing this. I plan to show Joel a home. I'm showing Joel a home at this time. I'm not showing Joel a home because it's a last minute ideal or thought that I had. I've already planned to do that, and that's time I'm spending. Quadrant 3, Joel spoke about these about his assistants, his assistants, and I have an assistant as well. Shouts out to Angel. Angel does all the urgent but not important things. Takes a lot off of my plate. That Angel buys me time to work on the things that I have to be a part of. Right? So Angel buys that time from, but you want to delegate these things. Another thing about the city, I remember that was one of the drawbacks that one of my supervisors had. They said Mike likes to delegate everything. Yes. Yes, I can and I will. What's the point? You got to, and the people who I'm delegating it to are able and willing because it gives them a sense of purpose. So I'm delegating this stuff and they actually feel accomplished as opposed to just like, what should I do now? I'm just twiddling my thumbs. No, Mike has given you certain things, tasks that need to be done repeatedly. Quadrant 3 are tasks that needs to be done repeatedly, but you don't necessarily need to do it. Okay, you can give direction. That's part of the delegation process, but you don't necessarily need to do it. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we should be delegating. Real estate especially. There's no need for you to be putting stuff into the MLS, people on real estate. You need to delegate that activity. That's a 20, 30-minute activity that you have no business doing. 30 minutes that you can either be doing prospecting, finding other clients, doing money generating activities, things that you could time 30 minutes that you could spend with your family, 30 minutes that you could be doing health-wise. This is where you start to find your time. You find your time by delegating the things that are repeated, the tasks that are getting repeated that you don't need. So you delegate it. And quadrant 4 are things that you don't need to be doing anyways. I'm so far removed from quadrant 4. I can't even think of an example of something that someone does in quadrant 4. Not urgent and not important. I guess social media posts in relation to the business, but then not because I delegate that, so I can't say because social media is interesting. I don't even know. Like, what do you think is not urgent and not important? Is there anything that you can think of an example of something that's urgent but not important?
I mean, when it comes down to it, I think that maybe just, everyday life that just kind of falls in there. I'm not saying that it's not urgent, or I'm not saying that it's not important. I should say, but just in general.
Maybe watching that YouTube video that has nothing to do with anything.
There you
go. Watching the cat videos.
There you go. And not just watching the video, but watching it in time that you could have been using to harness your skills. Like if you want to, who's the Damon Johns, right?
Yeah.
Fubu. He said on one occasion that, when he gets ready to sit down and eat, or he wants to watch a TV show, he carves out the time to watch it. So he sits down and he'll watch the TV for a half hour or whatever it is, maybe an hour, whatever the time it is. The whole point is that he carves out the time for his free time to watch the TV. We're not talking about just picking up the cell phone and then just getting lost 2 hours in TikTok. I'm not saying that. I'm not going against TikTok, y'all know. I got a lot of TikTok out. My stuff is a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes long. But nonetheless, you get in there and you get lost in the TikTok world and the Facebook world and the Instagram world and the YouTube videos. You can YouTube your video. Unless you're like Neo off of the Matrix, and as soon as you finish watching a Kung Fu YouTube video, you turn around and say, I know Kung Fu. Unless you could do something.
You downloaded it.
Yeah. Then you need to give that stuff up because it's no good to you if you're not practicing what you've learned. Remember, creating muscle memory. Hey, how's it going, Nick?
Nick, what's going on, man? Nick is killing it out there in the Miami market. He's giving me a lot of information because I don't go to Miami. Miami is a different world. It might as well be a different country as far as I'm concerned.
It's a different country. You said it right. Now it's been said. It's already out there. Don't even draw back on it.
Yeah, it's a different country. You all drive crazy, etc. But he's giving some information on the real estate market, and I don't know if a lot of people know, rentals have been going crazy. Like rentals are crazy right now. So he gave an example of, he said the Wild Wild West. He gave an example. Nick said someone, it was a rental. Someone had to put down in order for them to get it. It's so crazy. They gave $36,000 up front.
Yes.
Basically paid up front for the year.
Yes.
Just to secure the rental. That's how crazy the rental market is right now.
It just happened in my neighborhood.
They just gave up
$48,000 cash
for a rental.
For rental.
And so I think it's a blessing for the people that have the 48,000. But in my mind, I'm like, but I guess that means, I guess essentially you're not making payments for the next year or so. But yeah, you got 48,000, Joe. So you got to understand what it's like, and it's across the board. Like if you have a 2-bedroom, used to be, you could get a 2-bedroom here in Palm Beach, a decent one, $1,200-$1,300, no more. You're looking at $1,600, $1,700, $1,800. Really, it's $1,700, $1,800. Don't even think about 16. You can't go into like that. Nick said it's a crisis for the middle class.
Yeah, I agree with him.
Yeah,
I agree with them, and because there will be a leveling out of what's going on. This isn't going. Everything is not going to last forever.
Right. We got cycles. We definitely have cycles. It's going to be a stabilization. I think it's going to be tough to see it go less than what it is. What's going on at this point in time, though. I think they're starting a new standard of what the rental prices are going to be. 1,000% is definitely sad. A lot of people can't afford it. So we're gonna see a standard of what it is. A lot of these big hedge funds, etc., and I've been talking about it for a while, are coming in and buying out the properties and buying out the properties and ending up renting it back to people. Like that's an interesting paradigm and shift that we haven't seen, because they don't mind paying top dollar offer, whatever the offer price is, or a little bit more, and getting a 1 to 2% cap rate. Because if you're playing around with $100-something billion, you know what I mean? I think, what's that place? Blackstone has like 189 billion. I mean, but that's between commercial and residential. And they bought the one rental program. What was it? Home something. They used to buy homes and allow you to rent them before you buy them. So they bought out that company, and they don't mind buying it at the price, turning around. They buy something for $350, turn around and rent it for $3,000, $3,200, getting their money back, making 1 or 2%, and then sharing it with their shareholders or their clients. So we got this. It's some interesting times ahead of us. I want everybody to remember that progression moves north. So a lot of people are going to be ended up living in Port St. Lucie, Vero Beach, etc., because that might be a little bit more affordable for them. But Palm Beach is definitely getting to there. We're not where Miami is yet, Nick. We're not where Miami is yet, but we're starting to look like it. For a lot of them, is definitely feeling the brunt of it, man. Real estate.
I mean, like you're the real estate pro, but there's definitely a lot of people that are coming down. DeSantis, not to get no political battle or anything like that, but DeSantis really opened his mouth up when he invited, the way he treated the pandemic and the way he opened up everything constantly. There's a lot of people in other parts of this nation that were like, I'm moving to Florida.
Yeah.
I'm going to Florida, and there is a benefit in Florida because, it almost made us like recession proof. You know what I mean? Because People were still opening up. They're still spending money. And whatever money we didn't have in Florida, the people from New York or if they could get here from Canada, whoever could get here will come and buy it. So all the houses were still being sold, and somebody
No, go ahead, brother.
And what ended up happening is, you see what happens, but it's just that's one of those things. So like you told me multiple times, and something that your mentor was mentioning to you, this is a great time to buy. And I still agree with that. I think there's a lot of people out there that are afraid to buy because of the prices. I don't think that you should be afraid, even if you end up buying something and it ends up dropping $20,000 in the next year or so. I believe that it will make that $20,000 back in a couple, 2, 3, 4 more years, 5 more years. If you're just trying to flip stuff today and then 6 months later, then maybe that's not the right game for you.
1,000%.
Maybe you don't need to be doing that.
You sound like you're the expert right now. I mean, all these things. First of all, I definitely think most people should buy the residence that they'll be living in. I'm not saying that just because I'm a realtor. I'm saying it because I actually believe in it. But if you're not gonna live in it for 7 years, you're thinking of a quick flip, then yeah, you're gonna end up losing because you might buy when the cycle is at the bottom. I want to answer Nick's question. First off, obviously that's good for us, right? I know I went to a for sale by owner, and that was his thing. He was like, well, Zillow's gonna buy my property, so why wouldn't I deal with Zillow, and go through less headache, Zillow being like one of the iBuyers out there. Because Zillow was buying a lot of these different properties, giving them offers and not really disclosing what they were doing, because Zillow was by the time you finished working with Zillow, I think it was like 12 to 14%. At least I think the average was like around 13% of what you would end up paying, as opposed to going with a real estate agent and being at 10%. So right there, you're saving 3% by going with the real estate guy. So anyways, in regards to this particular person, he was like, yeah, so October 26th, they're sending out their inspector. This is October 26th. They're sending out their inspector to come out. Of course, I believe it was last week or the week before, Zillow said that they're moving out of Florida. So, this guy obviously could no longer wait on Zillow. And I reached out to him. He's not picking up my phone. I'm not going to listen. If you're watching me right now, it's not, I told you so. I'm just trying to help you out. I want to support. I'm not here to tell you I told you so. I just want to support you in your next move. You already bought a new property. Just go on and allow me to sell this one. So Nick, that's my thought on Zillow.
Love it.
Yeah, I might need to send you his number, because I'm sure he doesn't want to hear me. He might think I'm laughing at him. I'm not laughing at him. I'm just telling you that it is what it is. But yeah, I think the paradigm is shifting. I think real estate is always a great investment. Do not let certain things that happen in history or the past affect the way that your mind is moving throughout the future. Real estate has always been a pretty safe investment, and you're paying it anyways. If you're coming out the pocket $48,000, you could have came out the pocket $20,000, and you still would have had $24,000 to put into the property. And I'm thinking about the person that was close to you, Joe.
Gotcha.
Excellent. Listen, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I think this was good. I think on Monday, for my final comments of it, Monday I spoke to people that in their mind business is boring. Okay, business is very repetitive. It's a repetitive thing because you are being disciplined and you're forming habits. You should have a schedule. Nick is a real estate agent, and I'm sure he would concur. A real estate agent needs to have standards. Not only do they need to have standards, but they need to have a schedule, and they need to stick to it. That's the discipline of it. And in order for them to be free and take their time back. We do not want, and I'm sure Nick would also agree with me, is that we don't want to open up lock boxes forever. So the best way for us not to open up lock boxes forever is to figure out a system. The best time to buy a house was 30 years ago and today, 1,000%. Figure out a system, figure out how to replicate it, and then figure out how to teach it. And that way you're helping out yourself because you'll be bringing in other people who will love to get into your systems, don't mind you leveraging their time as they begin their business, etc. Get you some time management, get you some discipline. If you can't, if you have trouble figuring it out, even through this conversation that we've had, please reach out to any one of us in this arena. I've been doing it for a long time. I've been getting up at 4 o'clock and doing it for a long time. I'm still refining it, but it's there. So reach out. You know how to find me. Michael Seville Real Estate on Instagram. Michael Seville's Real Estate on YouTube. Michael Seville here on Facebook. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, for sure. That last comment that you made, I love that. About the systems. We should have a conversation about systems at some point in time and really dive into that. Maybe that'll be at another date, because a lot of things, they're transversal. When you learn a skill, if you have taken the time, if you have disciplined yourself to actually put in the action, put in the time, 10,000 reps, whatever that is, and whatever you're doing, and you have committed this thing to not just memory, but muscle memory, then at that point in time, you can take the philosophy, the knowledge of that, and you can start to use it in something else. That's what Mike's talking about when he starts talking about systems. You can learn something over here and you can apply it over here once you understand the workings of it. It's not always applied the same way. Anyway, listen, y'all, I definitely enjoyed this. You know how to get in touch with me on TikTok, your motivatorpreneur, on Instagram, tenacity_foundation. If you're looking for me on LinkedIn, it's going to be the LinkedIn, Joel Simmons -MILCS. I don't even know why they got all that stuff on there. And then YouTube, check me out there too. Nick, we definitely appreciate y'all. Before we close out, remember, guys, get out there, like and share. Find us wherever we are. Like, share, follow. You'll be, Mike's got another broadcast on Mondays, right? And that one's at 9 o'clock. It was called the Civil Discourse. And I've got a bunch of things that go on every day. I post something on TikTok all the time. Listen, next week, we're going to get into setting goals and commitments. We hit on that. So we're going to start talking about the difference. We're going to do a deeper dive into goals versus commitments. That's something that Mike, he's going to be fired up, y'all. You thought he had something today with goals and commitment? Wait until tomorrow. And we have a little tag agenda to that. We may even start to get into some accountability. But that's it. So y'all get ready for this. We'll be back at you again in a week on the Community Beacon.
Love you guys, man. We'll see you next week. Nick, shout out, man. Lunch one day.
No. You have to go inside and you find something that makes you happy, whatever it is, and then you just let it out.
But improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.